This demonstration will show you how to use the Update Library step to update a SharePoint library automatically within a K2 process instance. You can use this workflow step in any scenario that requires updating the properties of a library within a site collection in your SharePoint environment. It's also a very helpful workflow step to use inside your automated governance or administration models applied to your SharePoint architecture. Let's take a look at a workflow scenario that demonstrates this capability. I have a SharePoint list called Job Postings that will basically be used to manage an organization's job postings by department. When a job posting is added to the list, a document library automatically gets created via workflow in a subsite designated to store resumes for each posting as they come in from job candidates. For this demonstration, I'm going to run another workflow when an item is updated in the job posting list that uses the Update Library workflow step to update some of the properties of the job posting's corresponding resume library. The basics of this new workflow are already set up, so I'll focus on configuring just the Update Library workflow step. To begin, I'll drop this step on my design canvas. There are two ways to get a reference to the library in question. You can use the Browse to Library configuration by first selecting the site collection where your library lives. The next window in this path is called Specify Filters. Here you can plug values into fields that will help the wizard get a reference to the library in the selected site collection when the workflow step runs. Keep in mind, finding the library reference this way makes this library reference available inside this wizard only. Also of note, be as specific in the filter inputs as you can to narrow the wizard down to the exact library you want. My resume library lives in the Resumes subsite, which falls under the HR subsite in my portal site collection. I'll plug in the following value to the subsite relative URL field. Then, to help the wizard zero in on the specific library in that subsite, I can use any combination of these other fields if necessary. The ID field works the best if you have access to the library's GUID, but in this demonstration, I'll drop the title column from my list's item reference from the context browser in the name input, since that is what I used in the workflow to create the library. Pausing here, in this workflow, the work to find the library reference is already done because I used the Get Library Reference wizard in an earlier step to create a reference to the library, which makes it available to all steps later on in the workflow. I'm actually going to back up and use that reference by selecting the Use a Document Library that is referenced in this workflow option from the Specify Library window. The next step after completing either Specify Library configuration is the Specify Values window, where you can provide the input values to update the properties for the library. Let's take a look at the available options. You can configure versioning, menu options, and various other library settings from this list. The subsite relative URL field also appears on this window. However, you can ignore this field in this context. For this demo, I'm just going to update the description value and toggle versioning for the resume library. To do this, I'll drag references for these fields to their respective slots from the job postings list item reference. Notice here you can drag and drop a context field on top of the yes/no options, or click the button to the left of the field to open up a text box and hard code a yes or no if you want. That's the last step for this wizard, so from here I'll finish up and deploy the workflow, and then we can look at the working example. This workflow is set up to run when an item is updated in the job postings list. I already have a job posting in this list called Customer Success Manager. So first I'll flip over to the corresponding document library for this posting and look at the description to show that it matches the current job description from the posting. Let's also take a look at the versioning settings. Notice that versioning is not currently enabled. So now I'll flip back to the job postings list, update the job description, and turn on versioning. Save it. Now the update workflow should be running in the background. It should complete pretty quickly, so I'll switch back to the resume library for this job posting and refresh. Notice Create Major Versions has been enabled here. So now let's go back to the Settings page. And take notice that the description value for the library was updated with the latest job description as well. We would like to thank you for watching this demo on how to use the Update Library Wizard. We hope you have a better understanding of how and when you can use this workflow step within processes used by your organization.